Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a new episode of the Habibis 3 Game Developers Drinking Good Arab Team. My name is Ram Ismail, your host for today.
I'm Fawzi Mesmar.
And I'm Osama Darius.
So, has anybody played any games this week?
Well, there is no game. It's the game I played.
I thought it was getting really philosophical for a moment. But okay.
Yeah, it's not like there is no game. It's the name of the game. No, it's not a cake reference in any way.
It's that's not the full title of that one, right? It's there is no game.
Wrong dimension.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was watching, I don't know if you guys caught it. There was the Nintendo Indie Showcase.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think earlier this week. So I was watching that, and then they were like, "There is no game coming out later today." So I was like, "Cool, I'll check it out." So I grabbed my Switch and downloaded it there. I think it was out on Steam a while before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to try it out on the Switch, and you could tell that it's really like a PC game because the controls, like the analog sticks, they just move a cursor on the screen to tap on stuff. It's so I guess the easiest way to say what type of game is this is an adventure game. It's a tongue-in-cheek adventure game that's constantly that is self-aware that it is a game. It starts off as like some kind of desktop simulator kind of game in which like you're interacting with the game directly and the game is speaking back to you. And then the more you go through the game, the more different dimensions you would see as it plays homage to a lot of different genres of video games. It's like at some point, like there are some of the puzzles in which like you feel like you're part of the Monkey Island world. There were parts where it felt like a Zelda game. There were parts where I was solving logos on the title screen. Like the title screen, I was just, like messing around with the logo. And then like at some point, like grab the letter T and the letter T became a screwdriver and I ended up like unscrewing some stuff until I found a key. And then I used the key to traverse back to the language select screen. And there I like unhooked the French flag. And then like took that back to another screen to use it in something else. It's just very wacky. Constantly breaks the fourth wall.
That game just genuinely does. It's not breaking the fourth wall. They just never built a fourth wall.
So I'm curious, is there like a genre that ties it all together, or does it really feel like you're just jumping from one different type of game to the next?
This is why I feel like it's an adventure game, because a lot of what you do is that there is a mist-like puzzle presented to you on the screen, and then you interact with what's on screen to collect items, and then you combine those items with what's on screen to progress to get more screens. So when I describe it like that, it sounds exactly like an adventure game, right?
Yeah.
But the presentation can sometimes screw you into thinking that it's not. It reminds me a lot of games like, I don't know, there was this indie game called Pony Island. Did you guys ever play that?
Yeah.
Pony Island was really cool. It was also like one of those video games that's perfectly aware that it's a video game and kept on like reminding you like, yo, I'm a video game. I'm gonna, like mess around with you in a way that makes you think that your computer's getting broken or something like that. This is kind of like that, maybe not as psychedelic.
I think I would place it in the extension of the Stanley Parable. It's because it also kind of uses a narrator. Like the game is talking to you through a voice, and like Fawzi's saying, it's very playful. It's very like it messes with your expectations. It's very well done. It's very clever. It winks at you all the time.
Yeah, very creative. You can see the developers, kind of like high-fiving you every now and then. You can see like the developer humor coming in behind that and go like, oh, you thought I'm gonna do this, haha, and then like you have a laugh about it together, kind of thing. Voiceovers are really well made. The graphics are quite charming. Like the homage that they do to other games, I think is very tastefully done. It's not like internet humor.
So, it makes it more timeless.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good point. It's like an interesting. It's also longer than I thought. I think I needed like 5 hours or 6 hours to finish it. So yeah, there's more game in it than I initially thought.
I think it was originally based on a Game Jam game because it was made by one guy, a French guy, Pascal. I think he goes by Draw Me a Pixel.
That's super cool, and I'm happy. Like they got a good spotlight on the indie showcase. Like I got the game because of it, so it's cool what Nintendo are doing in terms of like spreading the love with the indies.
Yeah, it's nice that at this point Microsoft and Nintendo are really trying. I hope Sony comes back to it because they were for such a long time they were the indie platform. But
it's cyclical. It seems to come and go because Nintendo used to be the really unfriendly to indie platform at some point.
I mean, just non-existence, honestly.
Exactly.
Like there was no way to talk to them. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like the visibility they give. I hope they'll continue to improve and increase their support for independent development, especially as Sony seems faded a little bit. But
Inshallah,
we'll see.
Okay, so I played a game. The game that I played is called Trials of Fire. It's a deck builder slash strategy game. Strategic combat. It's kind of similar to XCOM. It's both at the same time, and those are two genres that I absolutely love. Like I put in a ridiculous amount of time in games like Slay the Spire, and same for XCOM. So like when you merge these two things together, you better believe I'm going to play your game. There's no way I'm not going to try it. So the verdict, I liked it. I thought the game was really good. The combat part itself works well. It's a hex grid. You move these little tokens around in the hex grid, and you have abilities from your cards, either movement abilities or combat abilities, either ranged or melee. There are a few other things that can happen other than like the basics of use a card and a thing happens. Not too many. Like for example, if you have an ally next to an enemy token, and you do a melee attack that's not a ranged attack, so like a non-ranged attack, they will also attack for 1 damage. So you could kind of surround the unit and get a little bit of extra points of damage out of it. A few other things like that. You still have like an energy meter, so some cards cost like 1 or 2 or 3, and you're able to discard cards to gain a resource. So I like that because there's no waste.
So is it? Am I looking at this as sort of like a board game deck builder?
Yeah, it's like a board game. It's kind of an adventure game because you actually have like a map that you're navigating, and then you go to points of interest or you encounter enemies, and then that goes into the combat. You resolve the combat, and you go back to the.
But the combat is sort of like you have cards and you put them on a. Do you put them on a board? Do
No.
you just play them? What happens?
So you have like 3. Like you start off with 3 characters, you have 3 tokens that are on the board, and each has the mini deck of cards, between 3 and 4 cards that you're able to use, and then you draw another, you fill your hand again with 4 at the end of each turn. So those cards that you draw, you're able to play your turn with it. You play all your turn, like for all 3 characters, and then the opponent has a turn to do the same with their tokens that are on the board. So the tokens represent the characters. Those are the character tokens. Yeah.
Okay.
And when you wipe out the other team, you win the combat, or if you get wiped out, you lose a combat. So instead of like picking from like next time when you're picking your actions and you have action points, here your actions are represented by these cards that you draw and discard, and it's a deck builder because you have a small deck of like, let's say 12 cards. So, it cycles again. So it really is both games. It really is a tactical, like a strategic combat game. And it's a deck builder. And it's like this global, it's actually, the theme is really nice. The game is a book that opens up. So it's like you're telling a story, and the encounters that you get are all narrative. They're like, you can choose to skip reading and just say read what do I do in this case, and but the writing is pretty good.
So wait, one more question then.
Yes,
because now I just need to know. So you have a deck builder, you have a board game, which is a tactical game.
Yes,
these tokens, these are characters, you say?
Yes.
Please tell me they also have like full inventory and like stuff like that. Where you're like,
Yeah, there's
oh my god, they just smashed everything together.
yes, yes. Okay, so
Okay.
this brings me to my a complaint about the game. I this is under the disclaimer that I'm actually really enjoying it. By the way, one thing is,
Someone starts like, my complaint, they smashed everything together.
yeah, I think it's a little too much. That's my main one. Is that even though I love all these things, in the end, this is not the most refined version of this game that they could have had. There's a little excess. There's a few systems that they could have done without. Like for example, while you're going through traversing the map, you get fatigued, you get tired, and then you have to rest. And at the campsite, that's when you're able to upgrade your characters. But if you don't rest for a certain amount of time, then you get these cards that are added to your deck, fatigue cards. And when you draw them, they don't do anything. And I get that, right? But that happens like right away. It's not fun. It kind of ruins the flow of the game, where I just want to go to a place and fight and build my deck and let bad things happen to me based on my decisions. I didn't really see the point of having the fatigue system. It didn't bring anything good. It didn't really it slowed down the game needlessly. I didn't see a point to it. I get it. Like it fits with the adventures. They wanted you to camp, and I think the purpose was so that you don't stop and upgrade your characters after each combat. I think it would have been okay to stop and upgrade your character after each combat. That's part of the excitement of the game, right? Right. Why do I need to cap at each point? Anyway, it's a balancing decision at the end. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel that maybe there was another mechanic that sort of like pushed for that mechanic that they cut?
Yeah,
it feels like that kind of thing, where it's like sort of something that stayed behind.
It's possible. It's also, it could have been just an idea that they just like implemented and then nobody questioned it, which happens a lot. Right. And it's completely fair. Like it's not, we're only human. Yeah, it happens. You're like, hey, this would be cool. You put it in, and nobody is like, yeah, but we never stopped to think if we should. It's just if we could, right. That kind of thing. The other part is you're picking up equipment, and the equipment translate to cards. And it's like this other layer of obfuscation that I don't think was absolutely needed either. Like I'm picking up a sword, but I have to hover over the sword. And when I hover over the sword, it tells me what 3 cards this sword represent to my character. The UI was a little confusing, but even that, was that really necessary? Why can't I just pick up a card? I get it. They want to make you feel like you're living this like adventure, and the medieval theme was strong in it, and they wanted to lean into it. But on personally, I thought that was another layer of things to try to understand in a game that already has so many layers. It took me a little while to get used to that. But that's it. These are small gripes. Like the game is actually solid. I enjoyed every run. It's difficult. Even like the first 2 campaigns that were supposed to be the easy campaigns, I died a couple of times and I had to restart them over. They weren't that easy. Maybe I didn't understand anything. Something like, I don't know. Maybe there's something I didn't understand.
Maybe I didn't understand anything.
I meant maybe there's something about it fundamentally that I didn't get. I doubt it, because like I still did everything and I was winning. But there were like some moments where I was like, okay, this is a difficulty spike. So it could have been a balancing issue. Disclaimer: I started playing the game when it was in early access. It just left early access last week, and I continued playing it after that, and I didn't really feel that big of a difference in balance. So I don't think it was the fact that it was in early access before. And a week doesn't make that big of a difference, I don't think.
But it's good now.
I liked it. I recommend it heavily. If you like those type of games, just be careful. Just be warned that it's a cognitive load at the beginning. There's a lot to take in. Yeah.
Right. Nice.
What about you, Remy?
So I finished Outriders. And I think my opinion about Outriders is kind of like how it's been over the past 3 weeks in this show, where it's like the first week I was like, okay, yeah, I guess. The second week was like, wow, this is the greatest thing that has ever been made, and now I'm back to like, yeah. I guess. It definitely peaks in the middle, and I think there's a giant end game that you can play, but I kind of lost interest in the game over the final part of it. Still very good game, still fully recommend it. The narrative is abysmal, but everything else is great.
So I'm curious about the peak in the middle. What was so good in the middle that made it better than the beginning and the end?
So the beginning, you're not strong. You don't have agency, right? You're just playing a shooter. You're getting loot. You're getting mods, and you just slot whatever is better in, right? And this is a common thing with looter games. It's like at the start, you just grab higher numbers.
Yes.
Then near the middle, you start to unlock these mods that are interesting, and there's sort of like a build crafting, right? So you kind of look at your build, you kind of look at the opportunities you have, and you're still sort of this super powerful being that just kind of like wrecks stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then towards the end of the game, they start implementing a lot of enemies that counter you very well and that are relatively strong, right? That can be really powerful, and that need very specific patterns to defeat them.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that is technically how flow theory works, but also I don't like flow theory. Like, I just really wanted to go through a giant room, just wrecking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And near the end, it was more like I spent more time near the end in cover than I did at any other point in the game, which feels like the opposite of what I should be doing.
What's the end game like, Rami? You said that there's potentially a big end game there.
So they have this thing called expeditions, which is sort of like you have these different quests that you can do with friends, and they're these bigger encounters that you can level up and get better gear in, and then ultimately you unlock the final fight of the game. I wasn't a fan of the story. I thought the last part of the story, the last act of the story, was both boring and really regrettable in many ways. Mm-hmm. Just not fun, not pleasant. I just didn't like it. So Outriders. So then it was time to find new games. So I installed Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War. They put too many words behind each other. I'm just like, where are we now? Like, COD Blops was already too many letters, but COD Blops Cold War? Like, are we ready? Like
Season 2.
Let's go Cold War.
So the way I play Call of Duty is very much campaign. I'm a campaign player. I don't care about the multiplayer at all. I know that's different.
Yeah,
you play
I'm
a lot
absolutely.
of
I'm the opposite. I've been playing Cold War for like the last 2-3 months. It's a game that I play with my brothers and sisters, so we really, really, really love playing it. I cannot stomach the campaign of Call of Duty games. It's like it's always like there's a room you have to breach, and then you clear everything out, then you go to the next room and breach. And that formula, I used to love it, like 20 years ago or whatever, and now I'm completely over it. And yet
I'm also like 20 years younger than you, right?
Wow, you aged me big time. I think it's closer to 10, which is still a lot. You didn't have to push that. But like I'm hooked to that multiplayer, like the Call of Duty. It's one of my comfort games. As there's the thing we spoke about before. The comfort food games, the games that when you're really tired, you can. I play out Call of Duty on automatic. I could be listening to something else, talking to someone else, and I'm still like getting up like kill streaks and score streaks and whatnot.
For me, Call of Duty is purely campaign. I've never played Call of Duty multiplayer, and the thing I like about the campaign is that about Call of Duty campaigns is that they're usually like 90% predictable, and then 10% just like tech pieces, like technological. They're technological bragging. You play them, you're like, okay, listen, you didn't have to go this extra, right? Like it wasn't needed. I will never forget Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which is one of my favorites, even if just because we weren't shooting brown people for most of the game. In Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, there's a sequence at the start where you start on the ground in Geneva, where giant spaceships are crashing in the city as you're running around, and then you get in a tiny space fighter and you go into space, do a dogfight battle, land on a supercarrier, and then walk through the supercarrier to the mission select screen area.
Wow.
And it's just basically it feels seamless.
I think that was at around the point that I stopped playing the campaigns. But like I still remember the set pieces that you're talking about in different Call of Duties, like the ghillie suit or the the helicopter crash where you actually end up dying in Modern Warfare 2 or whatever.
Right.
Like those are like impressive and narratively impressive too. But yeah, you're right. The rest of the game is kind of predictable, right?
Right. I mean, and that's kind of it. Like, I sit back, I play the campaign. It'll take me 6-ish hours. I will probably drop the difficulty to recruit for 2 sections that are too difficult, and then just put it back at regular for the rest of the game, and it's fine. So after that, I started looking for new stuff because I'm not going to be spending a lot of time in Call of Duty. And my God, has it been a good week for video games?
Okay. Wait, did you finish Civil War?
No, I didn't.
Sorry, Cold War.
I just know that probably tonight I'm going to finish it because it's a 6-hour game, so it won't take. It probably is a 6-hour game, so it won't take very long. Also, game is big. It's way too big.
Yeah, it has like sections. There's like a zombie mode, and then there's a multiplayer.
Even if you just download the campaign, I had to basically add 7 hard drives to my PS5 to load that game. Like, I put extra energy in the back. I booted up a generator. There's a solar farm on my roof now. Like, I don't know what's happening.
It's a really interesting thing for AAA development right now. Size on disk is becoming an issue.
Oh yeah,
there used to be a time in game development in which where our technical constraints was we can't have textures this big, or we can't have these many polygons on screen, or all of that stuff. But as hardware advanced, now you can have all of these things. Now we just don't have enough memory to store these things on device.
Yeah, and a lot of live games, they have the added problem of having dead data that they're not even being used anymore. Like Fortnite just did a update a few months ago, 2 months ago, where they removed something like 20 gigs from the installer. It's something huge. I don't remember the exact number, but the installer shrunk by a considerable size, presumably because there was a lot of just unused data, like things that they didn't need anymore.
So yeah, I'm exploring what I'm going to play after Call of Duty, because after I'm done, it's instantly getting deleted from my PlayStation, so I can have more than one game on it. So I just started looking around. A bunch of good, weird stuff came around on Twitter. A lot of Kickstarter happened. Dave Oshry tweeted Key Sniper, which is really silly. You remember the sniper, what are they called? The sniper games?
Sniper Elite, I think is what you're thinking.
Sniper Elite, yes. Yeah. Anyway, Ski Sniper is basically that, but you're shooting people that are doing ski jumping. That's it. It is literally the silliest thing I've ever seen, but it's also very amusing. It reminds me of Flash games, and it makes me very happy. It has the same slow motion. It has the skeleton camera. It has all that. It just, you're for some reason just shooting people.
Wait, some reason? They don't even explain why? It's just go shoot the skiers?
No, it's basically do you think this could be hard, right?
Of course, they're moving targets.
Right. So would it be hard to shoot somebody who was ski jumping? I think is probably how it happened.
What a great pitch.
Well, everything about this game, from I'm looking at the logo to the graphics, it feels like somebody's just taking is joking around.
That is 100% what happened. I think the developer just looked at Sniper Elite and went but what if? What if? Or maybe they just have a lifelong obsession of hatred against ski jumpers. Maybe, I don't know what it is. There's something made this happen. Then beyond that, I booted Flight Simulator back up because they updated it with the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. So I flew around a bit more. That is always good. It always relaxes me. I keep playing that game week after week. Forgotten Fields came out, which was a Kickstarter that I backed months ago, and it's a cozy. I think the pitch is a cozy narrative game about nostalgia and the passage of time. A writer returns to his the home he grew up in before it's sold. So it's a very personal, very beautiful style, and it feels very genuine. And from my chats with the developer, it also seems like it's a game that matters. Then there was I obviously played through Good Looking Home Cooking, which you recommended last week, Osama.
Yes. What did you think?
What a wonderful, so wonderful.
It was so good.
Made me very happy.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was on a high after playing that game. It's surprisingly good, and I was expecting it to be good. So for it to be even better than
even better.
Yeah.
I went in with high expectations and came out happy.
Yeah.
And then obviously Fez came out again. Fez on Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
I saw that on the indie showcase as well. I was like,
I was very happy to see that.
This?
I confess, I've never beat Fez. This might be my chance to beat it. I've played it.
Go do it.
I never beat it.
Go do it. It's really hard.
Also, what does it mean to beat Fez as well? You can finish it in 5 hours or so.
Yeah,
Fez
kind
beats you.
Yeah, Fez beats you. That's right.
Right. And then there was all the Kickstarters. So Whisker Squadron, which is Star Fox but with cats.
Yep, I backed that. It looks really cool.
Waste Knots, which is a collectible cooperative card crawler battler.
Waste Knots? Like astronauts?
Waste Knots, yeah, but then waste instead of astronaut.
Huh.
By Raspberry Games is on Kickstarter right now, which is really good. On early access, I downloaded Nova Mundi. It's a strategy simulation game that I played a little of. I've been talking to the developers, and it's in early access now. It's a game where you play the indigenous Muisca people, and you fight the Spanish invasion. You fight the colonists, which is just a perspective I've seen so rarely in games.
Oh, absolutely.
That I wanted to give it a go. So that it's fun. It's more in depth than I like my games frequently, but I think a lot of people will get a lot of enjoyment out of this one. Then what else did I mean? I think Venba, if you've been following that, the game about the narrative cooking game about the Indian mom, that has wishlist now. So I clicked wishlist so hard that I think I broke my mouse.
It looks so good.
It looks so. I get angry watching it. I shouldn't watch these trailers while Ramadan is happening.
Rami, I feel for our listeners, I feel like we should have given them like a heads up to go grab a pen and pencil to start to write down his recommendations. I can't keep up.
This is my problem. Every time I go, like, I've played no games. I've played like 75 different things, or like checked out 70 things, and
I can't keep up. I'm gonna need to listen to the episode again to remember all the good games you talk about, so I can play some of them.
And then for me, obviously, one of the most exciting ones is Spirit Swap, which is on Kickstarter now. I think last week we also had Unbeatable going up on Kickstarter, which was also beautiful. But Spirit Swap is a big one for me. It's a game that is inspired by the Lebanese roots of the developers and Black culture. And it is a lo-fi beats to match 3-2 game. And it is just so lovely. They have a demo on the Kickstarter now, and it's just really lovely to see, like the Lebanese roots of a lot of the team are clearly visible in that game without being the thing that the game necessarily is about. It's just there. It's so natural. It's so genuine.
It's gorgeous too. I love the art.
It's beautiful.
Really beautiful looking.
I'm definitely playing this.
Yeah, they have a demo up which you should check out. They had a 62,000 euro goal. They smashed it in 2 days. They have 24 days left. It's so worth backing. There's a demo up now, and just it was so lovely to see the community rally behind that game. They've done such a good job of like getting people to support the game, and it felt heart. It's that type of heartwarming. I don't know. It's that type of heartwarming that I feel like I see off like. Even that felt Lebanese. Even that felt just very like it's like when people need something and they get that community behind them and everybody pushes to get them over the hill.
That's a very Middle Eastern thing for like people to see something going on or somebody in need of help. And then everybody in the street will come over and help out and something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say whether this game got pushed over the line by Middle Eastern people, but yeah, it feels Middle Eastern, right? Like, because I have that memory. I mean, everybody, I don't know if that's true, but I feel like everybody has the experience of a car breaking down in the Middle East at some point.
That was actually the example I was just about to bring up. Like the car breaking down, and then all of a sudden you have 40 uncles and fathers showing up, telling you what to do, opening up the hood, looking at all the things, checking the thing for you. It's and having and if they can't figure it out, someone's already on the call, calling a pickup truck or what have you, promising you that this person will take care of you. That's the kind of experience that you get. Here it's
I mean, or just like 55 people pushing your car.
There's
that was it for me. In Egypt, the problem was never that the car was broken; it's just that it wasn't starting. So you just needed some speed, and you would get like 7 kids that you would never see again in your life, and like
yeah. My car in Jordan was a terrible car. It had this. I don't know what was wrong with this car. Many mechanics looked at it, and many uncles, as Osama said, stood at the side of the road. They all had their own diagnosis of what could possibly go wrong. They were all wrong. My car had this thing that whenever it rained, it just completely stopped.
What?
Yeah, it would just like stop in the middle of the road. Like if a little bit of rain, like a splash of water, will make it stop. And I bet you now, if there's like Middle Eastern people listening to this,
they're like, I know what it is.
Like, of course it's that. And I'll hit the listener, you're also wrong, because
right, exactly.
It wasn't that.
It is true. The false expertise is one of my favorite things about that, where everybody just stands next to us and they go, it's obviously that. It's obviously that.
And it's never that.
It's never that, and they're like, "Oh, then I don't know what it is," and it seems wrong. Like, are you sure you checked it well?
Yeah, it's not just with cars; it's with like medical reasons too. Everyone's a doctor.
But I think because of that car, I got kind of almost reliant on like the Good Samaritans, like Arabs being Good Samaritans.
Yeah.
Because like I'll be driving home from work or whatever, and I go like, oh God, please, oh no, I see raindrops coming on the windshield. And I go like, oh no, this is gonna happen. And then the car stops in the middle of the road, and then like I'm out and I'm trying to push the car, and then 40 people show out of nowhere because the street was empty as far as I knew. And then all of a sudden, like 40 people come out of nowhere, and then they're all pushing. They push the car on the side, and we're like, oh, alhamdulillah, salam, I hope you're fine. Everything's okay. Okay, so what's wrong with the car? Like, yeah, when it rains, this happened. Oh, it's definitely blah. Let me pop the hood. Let me have a look. And then 30 people are having a look at my hood, and like they all try to fix it, and then they all go and like, well, good luck. And then, one person will give me a ride, because that's also a thing. Like, this person that I don't know goes like, all right, well, it's too wet here. Let me drive you home. And I'll be on the other side of town, and that person would go completely out of their way to drop me off home. And that happened so many times. I hate that car so much.
Oh, no.
Was it also one of those cars that was a hand-me-down from a car that was already no longer legal to drive in Europe or America? Because there were a lot of cars like that. And in Egypt, you would see cars with Dutch license plates with just an Egyptian license plate mounted over it. But it was like this style of license plate that went out of commission in the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe like, how is this car still functioning? Why is the smog that's coming out of it like just pure black?
Yes. On the topic of cars, and I know we're not exactly on the topic of cars, but still, in Iraq during the embargo, I saw the most extreme sense of resourcefulness that I've ever seen before.
Right.
Because embargo meant no cars were coming in and no cars were going out. So therefore, no cars are being put in a dumpster. Like no cars are being condemned. At that point, if your car's not running, they're going to find an oil drum or something and like take a hammer to it and make whatever part you're missing. The ingenuity that existed at that time,
right.
Like the cars were all salvageable. And that's, sorry. I know it's an aside, but I just thought it was a funny thought because I saw cars from the 1960s. My uncle had a car from the 1960s and like it was running. And if anything went wrong, they made it work.
But I think that kind of, in a way, it's kind of the same topic, right? It's like people try to help out with, because I think it comes from having to work with the means you have, right?
Exactly.
Like a lot of the Middle Eastern and Arab cultures are not necessarily rich countries. They're countries that went through a lot. They've had history. They've been exploited. They've been under colonialism. They had to create a system of interdependence on each other,
Absolutely.
right? Like everybody helps where they can help so that everybody can go on with their day. But it's not just cars. It's not just traffic. It's in it's in everything, right? Like my grandma, she was old. Tata was like 70 something. And in the neighborhood, she could just sit on the balcony and yell downstairs, and somebody would go get her groceries, right? And she would have this little basket with a rope, and she would lower the rope with the basket from her balcony, and they would put the groceries in there, and she would lift it up, right?
Yeah, my dad would never be able to just carry the groceries home. Like if my dad or mom just like bought something from the supermarket and on their way home, the kids from the neighborhood, they will all just come running and like they pick up the bags to bring it up to our place.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like if they see like an elderly if I see like an old dude that I don't know, like kind of like carrying stuff, and I go like I'm gonna immediately go like, hey Ammo, can I help you? Like how can I carry the stuff for you? If like somebody even if it's not necessarily an old man, something like a dude, trying to put a couch onto his car because or like trying to like fit something that's not supposed to fit on their car, like they're obviously carrying a heavy load that they're having a hard time with it. I will come out and help, and many will. Sometimes actually I have this funny story. I got locked out of my car. Did I tell you that I hate that car? And then I'm trying to fix it. Like it was me and my friend, and we're trying to find a way to get the door open. And then 5 minutes later, there's 12 people going, like they're surrounding us in the car. It's like, what's going on in all of this? And like one person goes like, oh, so this is your car, you can't go in all of this? Sure, no problem. He went away, came back with like a wire, and then like did some things. 3, 2, 1, boom, open the door.
Right.
Yeah, and we had to yell at 3 other people that were calling their cousins, who was also a locksmith or something.
Right.
Yeah, guys, no need, we got this.
It's a thing where everybody knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the other thing that I really like, because the helpfulness is not like, and it's true, that's from kids, from being a kid, right? Like there's a pride in helping people, but also it's automated. It's not something you think about. There's not really a decision you make as a kid either. It's just, you see that somebody is in need, and you've seen everybody always help people in need, so you help.
Exactly. It becomes part of the culture, and that's why in other places it doesn't necessarily happen as often. I
got in trouble in the Western world for trying to help sometimes. Like I was in an airport and somebody was having a problem with their luggage. Well, maybe a bearded Arab in an airport telling you that they will help you.
Yes.
Okay. But Yanni, the just trying to help is not as, it feels less natural here. It feels like there's sort of like an expectation of, getting a reward or
literally.
being,
Like here in Montreal, when it snows heavy. And I make it a point whenever I see someone who's stuck in snow trying to get their car out, or someone older who's shoveling, like I'll do my part. Like I'll go and I'll try to help them, right? You know how many times people will be like, no, it's okay, I don't need any help. Because I think they're just thinking I want to ask for something afterwards. And I'm like, I insist one time. I'll insist one time. And sometimes they'll back down. I'll be like, no, I just want to help. I swear. They let me help at the end. And then they uncomfortable. Like for them, it's uncomfortable. Like they don't know how to say thank you from that situation. They're just not used to it. It happens way more often than you would expect. It's yeah. And I get it. It's just a different culture. I'm not like calling anyone out or anything.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But
it's just not how the world works.
It's not.
I think it was like, it came the clearest and like the most effective, like during the more difficult times. So like, for example, when wars are happening and there's a lot of refugees like moving into town, like in Jordan, for example, there were like people posting signs on like lampposts everywhere going like, I have 2 extra rooms in my house for anybody who needs a home.
Wow.
Or like people would like, they would put like shops, they will have fridges outside of their stores, and they will have like a sign on the fridge that goes like, this is food for people who need it. Take what you need and leave the rest for others.
Right.
It's beautiful.
And it would work that way, right? Like nobody would just empty a place like that. That's, people would do it that way.
Yeah, there were like Jordanian like supermarket owners and like small business owners. They will hang signs. The sign is like basically a piece of paper with handwriting on it. It says like, I need help needed to work in this supermarket, preferably to hire Syrians or Iraqis or whatever the war was at the time. Because like we've had both of these kind of situations happen, in which like, if you're in town and you're looking for a job, I prefer to hire those people that are now in need for a job.
Right.
Jordan was because it was in close proximity. You were in a lot of positions to be able to help refugees, especially. Because you're close to both Syria and Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we took more Syrian refugees in Jordan than all of the EU at some point.
Yeah. That part is really wild to me. Just to look at the world and just be like, no, we can handle this. Like the world can handle the amount of refugees that is out there. We just all need to be helpful. And I think maybe part of it is that in the Arab world we still have somewhat similar cultures, so people feel closer. Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have the stereotypes about Arabs and about Muslim people. But it's so strange to me to see that whole discussion, knowing that it's not like if I'm in the Netherlands and something bad happens, everybody keeps walking, right? But people do the minimum to make sure you're okay, right? That's what I'm used to in the Western world. People do the minimum to make sure you're okay. You fall, people stop and they go like, "Are you okay?" And you go like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Okay," and they keep walking, right? On the airport, you fall. Like somebody like sits next to you, they bring some like they yell at somebody to bring something to like look at the wound, and like
someone brings you water out of nowhere,
right? Like if somebody asks me after I fall in the Netherlands if I'm okay, I just go like, yeah, even though my leg might be like in 7 pieces, and like I'll be like, yeah, because I don't want to bother anybody. Well, in the Arab world, I'd probably just be like, do I look okay? not okay. My leg shouldn't look like that. I think that it's a weird different effect. It's a difference of expectation. Like in the Arab world, you expect to be helped, and people expect to be helpful, and and including going very far out of their way. That's true. I will never forget. Just like I think our car broke down on a hill, uphill, and the group of Egyptians that came to push the car. It's like if this car rolls backwards, you're under it, right? They're like, no, it's fine, we're strong. It's like, oh,
man, I was like, I had a fridge delivered to my place once, and I was like, I need to figure out how to get this thing all the way to my house, which was like on the 4th floor. The dude just left it on the sidewalk and left.
Okay.
And I'm like, trying to figure out what happened, and then like, one of those construction worker was moving by us, and I was like, do you need help getting this up there? I was like, yeah. And I thought he's gonna like call his friends or something, and the dude like he's shorter than I am. He goes ahead and like lifts the whole thing on his back.
What?
And runs up 4 staircases, and then just goes like, "Can I pay you something?" Or like, no, I just wanted to help you out. You looked like you're in trouble, and then he left to go have lunch or something. I was like,
what is this superhero?
I just read The Strongest Man Alive. I just carried my fridge to the 4th floor.
Wow.
But like, okay, let's be honest. There's a lot of people in the Arab world that have very specific skills that are really only useful if you help people out. I don't know what, like, but people that can carry a fridge alone, or like people that can somehow Tetris an entire living room onto like a tiny car.
Yes.
Right. Like, I don't know how to people that like help like unlocking cars, people that help getting balls out of like ditches, people that help with like animals that are wounded. Every time you come across somebody, you're like, I don't know who can help with this. Somebody shows up and they're like, actually, the exact skill I have is I know exactly how to climb power poles and like how to undo electricity. I studied this. Don't worry.
I got you.
As you're counting these things, I started to think about situations, and there was always somebody that shows up, like putting a tent. And like, what am I supposed to do now? A dude shows up out of nowhere, and I'm like, I'm in a forest. Where did this guy come from?
Right?
I can help you put up the tent. And then he comes help me, like he actually helps me put up the tent and then just leaves.
And then they're gone again. It's like a weird like DM. You know, you're like the dungeon master that's running your story is just like you have like a really high like luck stat or something. It's like I don't know how to set up this thing, and you just roll a 20, and it's like, oh, yep, no, they show up.
Yeah, so many occasions. Like when you're going out on the barbecue and like put the meat on the skewers, and now you put the fumes together. You start to put the call like, okay, so how am I supposed to turn this on? And then like a car like screeches, stops, and like. You guys need up the fire.
You sit with a bunch of friends with a deck of cards, and you're like, "What shall we play?" And a random stranger just shows up, like, "Oh, you playing cards?" Yeah, like, yeah. They're like, "Oh, I know a good game." It's like, "Okay, have a seat, join us." Problem solved, and it's everything. It's just somebody shows up who happens to be exactly good at the one thing you need, no matter how specific. It's wild. Just always somebody appears.
That's incredible.
I'm just sitting here just being like, I'm really hungry. I wish I was in the air world so I could just think, I want some ice cream. And just somebody would come through the window and be like, you want some ice cream? I have some ice cream. Say, okay. Would be great. Yeah, because it's not too long anymore. I have to start fasting again soon.
Oh, I'm breaking my fast in about an hour and a half.
You want ice cream for suhoor?
Oh man,
I just want ice cream. The weather has been really nice in the Netherlands.
Okay.
It's been a little foggy, but it's been 14, 15 degrees Celsius.
I was about to say, yeah, really nice. That means it's like 12.
Right. All I've learned about weather is if I want to know if it's going to rain, I should check if Fawzi's getting in his car. Because there's no way. There's no way you lose that fear ever again.
Exactly. I love it. If you see me driving, then it's going to be a sunny day.
It's going to be a good day. Yo, good. I think we're going to wrap it up with that. Do you have a photo of that car, Fawzi?
But plenty.
Plenty. Oh, really? I really want to see it. I want to have that photo so I can print it on a birthday cake or something.
You'll be disappointed it's just a Volkswagen, but yes, I'll send you some photos.
Perfect. It's like this, the stereotype like beat down car is kind of what I'm hoping for. So
it wasn't beat down when I got it, but over the years.
It's like all the uncles that like when like, oh, you just hit it here and it'll start working together, and it just like smack your car, and then it's like, oh, it doesn't work. That's weird. Let me hit on the other side of the car, and it's like, no, it's good. Shukran.
All the friendly advice I got over the years really helped the car get to its wrecked state.
Anyway. That was it for today. We will be back. More Suhoor Bites every day of Ramadan. I think that was it. Anything you two still have?
I just wanted to mention how much I love the Ramadan intro to our podcast, and I'm going to miss it when Ramadan's over.
Oh,
but that's it. That's my note.
Something to look forward to for next Ramadan.
Yes, exactly.
Malik Zubaila, who did both the normal intro and the Ramadan intro and outro, did a Suhoor Bite at the start of this week. On the Suhoor of Monday. So if you want to still go check that out and check out the other music Malik makes, go check out that Suhoor Bite. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're enjoying, and we'll be back next week.
Okay, salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I was Rami Ismail, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at @THA_Rami. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Fawzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. The intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubaila, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and salam.